Okay, I've wanted to do one on the Etruscans for a little while and some of their oddities that they have in them. And I found this, another person's video, which I'm going to just mirror here, but talk also during parts of it to explain it to you. And, or explain to you what I'm trying to get out of it. He's talking about their language and how he's found the attachment for Greek and Etruscan, and actually their alphabet flips around and becomes our alphabet itself. And so there's definitely an old attachment. The Etruscans are people that live in the Italy area all the way around into the Levant at one time. And it looks like that they, along with ancient peoples like the Trojans and stuff, kind of got assimilated into Greeks and assimilated into the Romans. And it looks like it's attached. But the weird thing I have here is one of the things I wanted to show in my Etruscan video is the fact that they have a mummy that actually had some Etruscan script on him. And better than the actual paper that was written by somebody that only had one little picture and so on and a lot of description, this actually has more pictures of that actual Etruscan manuscript that they found on this mummy. And so I'm going to let him talk through this and try to stop at appropriate moments for you, but take a look at this information here.
Wealthy civilization once spread across Italy, founded ancient cities, and may have left us with words like person and Rome, and even the alphabet. The Romans? No, not them. I mean an earlier people whose language was almost lost to us. Almost, but not quite. Whoosh. Let me take you back to Egypt in the mid-1800s. A European traveler has been touring the local sites, and now he's shopping for a souvenir. Wandering the streets, he chances upon the perfect bargain. A sarcophagus, with the mummy still wrapped up inside. He hauls it back to Vienna and sets it up as a creepy showpiece in his home. After his death, it's donated to a museum, where something odd is found. The mummy's bandages are filled with letters. And not a few letters either. A whole book. A puzzling book. It wasn't Egyptian at all. The ink read like inscriptions from Italy, made by an ancient civilization the Romans called Etrusci or Tusci. Today we still call their homeland Tuscany. And now here was this mummy wrapped in the longest Etruscan text ever seen.
It's actually longer than that stele, or the large stone that you saw there, where it writes all the way around it, which is the largest piece of Tuscan literature that anybody had ever known about until this point. And then all of a sudden there is an entire writing out through this. And people have tried to decipher it over the years, and they finally have come up to 3/4 deciphering it. It seems like they have a different mode of writing some of their words that apparently afterwards was changed, and we can't quite recognize it because it's so foreign to any of the other languages that come out of it or can be compared to it, which is odd. But the same thing happened with Egyptian, cuneiform, and things like that, and they really are looking for some type of Rosetta Stone, and what they can't find is some inscription like they've always found before, where it has a language they know and this language, and they know what one says, so now they know what the other says, and it gives you the Rosetta Stone. Let's go on.
It was precious, but this linen book had a problem. A problem it shared with thousands of other Etruscan inscriptions. The language looked nothing like any other. Mysterious, but not undeciphered. These letters go from right to left, but flip them and you'll see that they are basically our letters.
If that totally shows up there, I believe it does. But A, B, C, D, E, F, I, H, O, K, L, M, N, O, O, R, M, P, Q is before P, S, T, V, X, O, Y. So, and so there it is right there. But then again, Okay, we've got our little saying that we do the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, but they don't necessarily have that. In fact, the G sound is not. They. What I'm trying to say here, real quick, is that if I can, is that we expect G to come after F, but there is no rules in any language that you ever see as to they have to go from A to Z. They don't have to go from A to Z, and the stuff in the middle isn't always the same. Every culture on earth doesn't have a copy of it. Now, a lot of the ancient cultures that come out end up having the same, and it's the correlation like I was talking about a minute ago, but this shows you that some of the letters are out of place, but yet they're still the sounds. So, you're not looking for the 21st letter of the alphabet or the 11th letter of the alphabet. You're trying to find the consonant or vowel sound hooked up with the symbol. So it can be a little more difficult looking at that. I mean, hell, if it just had ABCs and you went through it, then you'd be able to have it. But then you'd have to figure out what does that mean, and things like that. So it stems from there. But the neat finding again is, of course, more apparent Greeks in pyramids. If you'll look, I've got a video called Aryan Pyramid Builders where it shows you a lot of DNA and things that now are showing that there were a whole lot of Caucasoids building the early pyramids, and especially the earliest dynasties and going back before early dynastic Egypt, and that after the Hyksos release, then that's whenever Nubians and things start moving in, and the large mix comes that we really notice today. And it's always looked at as being something that comes from there, but wildly, there are Caucasoids in the earliest, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, red-haired, and so on. In fact, I've got another one that's a mirror, much like this one, of off of Beyond Science, and it is look up Egyptian red-haired, and it'll show you that they're finding a lot of this information too. So, and this all goes together with my whole Greek idea, and that the Greeks, what we know as the Greeks and Romans today, were all in cahoots with everybody all the way through the Levant, all the way through to Samaria, all the way through, and over the top too, because Hyksos people are related to Hike, and Hike is a lower Russian area, higher above Iran, Errata area, guy that was deified. He was the one that killed Nimrod with a long, perfect shot. I mean, it was the miracle shot. And he was again deified as Orion, which is also looked at as being Aryan. And he's the mighty hunter before the Lord. Of course, in the Bible, Esau claims it, but we find a few people through time claim it. And then there's another tale from St. Cunathon that says that an animal gored him in his 40th year, and it's the reason everybody uses the number 40 for an age or a king's age. In all ancient times was all from ancient King Nimrod. So it's like an odd study when these people claim to kill him and all these things like that. So let's look on. We'll see some more of this. But really the attachment I wanted to show you was the pyramid, but and its connections to Egypt with this Etruscan people and the scrolls that they have. It looks like it's the Book of the Dead, perhaps, that goes with everybody whenever they die, but it's not. It seems like it's something else too, and they found a lot of words out of this. We'll go through a little bit more. I'll stop it again, and then we can finish. But look at this.
See, the popular story goes that the ABCs spread from the Phoenicians to Greece to Italy, where Rome inherited them. We're missing a piece, though. It was the Etruscans who spread the alphabet in Italy. And it seems the Greek alphabet they inherited had too many sounds for them. Etruscans were fine with voiceless t, t, k, but they didn't need the voiced b, d, g. In an inscription, they even wrote the word for Greek as greke. This is why the Romans, when they borrowed the alphabet, originally pronounced C as both k and g. Looking at the Greek alphabet, it should have only made the sound g. In my video on Latin letter modding, this is why we met a vexed Roman who added a tail to that C to create our letter G. But Etruscan did make use of sounds that might be harder for you to distinguish. Get your ears ready. Pa, ta, ka, versus aspirated pa, ta, ka, like persu, mask, a word that lives on right in the heart of our English vocabulary.
As the word person. So you're seeing linguistics twist here and how it that changes through times, and it looks like one of the things that's the missing link of how the language comes about, that we develop into what we turned into Greek, Roman, and Latin, comes from a blend off of this, and that blend has an attachment back down to the Levant area and all the way into Egypt. And indeed, many old and ancient cultures like Sumeria would refer to the underworld and the land of the dead. And the underworld, really, in the Sumerian tabs, if you look at it, is really just something that's south of the equator. There's an upper world and a lower world. And the abyss of the ocean that's out there, it's not necessarily that there's up under the bottom of the earth or anything, or this down in hell idea. Of course, somebody could read a lot into that and then later think there's hell, like in the Bible, but or that the dead were walking, or that the earth was flat and everything up under the bottom of it was like some volcanic hell or something. Not, they see volcanoes coming up out of earth, so they imagine things. Regardless of that, though, the Sumerians seem to have had the idea that you would to take your dead down to that area and let them go, and like they would do with the ancient pharaohs, and take them out the Nile into the abyss and then let them go, and they were supposed to go up into heaven. And so there are huge, huge graveyards down there, and it looks like that maybe it's possible that for a good period of time, people would take their dead on a pilgrimage all the way back down there, and perhaps have this mummification done to them. Maybe going back to in primordial times, whenever they actually were Egyptians in the first place and had come out. And so it looks like at one time, maybe the Bible is true in some sense when it says there was a large group of people where everybody spoke the same language and all worked together till something went wrong, and a woman grew from a rib and ate from a magic tree because the talking snake told her to. Maybe that turns into a different thing. I've got a video about the talking snake, and if you'll look at that, it shows you in Egypt and all these places they have nagas and talking snakes, and it's where that whole concept comes from, and that's really a Greco-Roman grabbed idea too, but it's also through the Levant, and probably a few missing people that we never really know about, because once we get just past this, there's actually no artifacts, and it starts to turn very cavemanish. And the amazing thing is that whenever I was a kid, it overlapped way earlier. Like, oh, they tried to go with the Bible and go like 4000 BC, and it just turns caveman. And now they're realizing, no, it goes all the way to 10,500 BC with the Arata civilization and their amazing Stonehenge buildings, and maybe even dips a little farther back. And then that is a confusion, because we definitely find cavemen until that time. And there could have been an advanced race that was running around through here, bringing everybody up, perhaps inbreeding with them some, and then bringing them up by that inbreeding and by knowledge. Inbreeding knowledge, and bringing all the cavemen up as everything comes out of the last ice age. Just an odd theory, but again, this Egyptian pyramid connection is really an odd thing. And you can watch this guy's video if you'd like. He goes into all types of connections with Avas, Evas, Avas, and slight vowel sound changes and things like this that show you that it kind of blends and turns into Roman and has its flavors all the way to Latin. But in that fact too, there's a sacred calendar or something that is built into this, okay? But the detailed interpretation of it's really doubtful. Now, this is on Bonfante and the Etruscan language, and they're trying to figure it all out. And one day we'll have it totally on there. But there's a sacred calendar idea and a time, and it rolls through, and they have a couple of keywords in there. They think that it means this, but there's just a lot of things that are strange about it. But the strangest thing about it all is you find Greek Etruscans mummified. Like and subscribe if you like it, man. Enjoy. Y'all have a good one.